obviously I have a lot of love and respect for Jadeveon. Played his heart out for me for 3 years. And I expect him to be motivated. Obviously, we're the team that drafted him, spent 5 years here, and I know he'd love to go out there and put on a show. So I expect our offense to accept the challenge and go out there and put their best foot forward and try to shut him down. But I know just him and how much he loves Sundays, and he's going to go out there and try to be his normal and typical disruptive self. Sarah?
Anthony, Justin Reed told us about this turnover bout you guys have in practice. Where did that get started, and can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so obviously turnovers was a stat that we were lacking in. So, I just wanted to make sure that I drew purpose and intention to what we were doing in practice. So what we do is we chart strip attempts, we chart PBUs, tip balls, all those things, just to try to get the guys focused on trying to get the ball and hunt the ball. So I ordered the belt. The guys at Undisputed Belts, I get a little plug right there. They did a tremendous job in making the belt. And it's something to motivate our guys to go out there and, again, practice with purpose and intention and try to be the king of the turnovers every single week.
Can you describe what it looks like, what colors and what it says on it?
Yeah, it's Houston Texans colors. It says turnover champ on it. It says, Mom, I hope my mom's not watching this, but it says bad mother effer. There are stars in there though, so we don't actually use the words. And then it says HOU on the front. So our guys like it. Again, I know it's kind of high schoolish and gimmicky, but it does its job. It serves its purpose.
Who is the current turnover champ?
The current champ is Jonathan Owens. All right, he had a big week last week, particularly on show team. We don't want to leave any of those guys out, and he was brought up last week and played in the game. So before that, it's been Michael Thomas. Terrell Adams won it the first week. So you see, again, when you see it happen on the field, I think when you're practicing with purpose, when you're practicing with intention, a lot of times those things carry over into the games, and that's all we're trying to do.
Aaron Wilson.
Hey, Anthony, when you look at some of the improvements you guys made a week ago, what do you feel like were some of the differences in the way you played, the way people rallied to the ball, and what obviously with the kind of offense you're playing this week, you hope to do to continue that and try to build on that?
Yeah, I think for us as a defense, it's all about just being consistent. Prior to last week, we had shown it in spurts, whether it be a quarter or a half or 3 quarters at times. Last week, we were able to put it together for 4 quarters. So I think our guys, again, they're very competitive. They're very prideful. When you challenge them to go out there and stop the run, most of the time they do it. All right, they do it. But as we get into the season, again, not having a preseason, missing tackles, missing out on some of the technique and fundamental things that you typically get ready for in off season, we're still trying to find our groove a little bit. And I hope now that we're in it and we can continue this moving forward.
And kind of an obvious, but you guys lean heavily on Zach. He's your leading tackler. You guys spent some time to a big contract. How much now, especially with B-Mac's injury, do you guys lean on him even more and hope that he will be that bell cow for the defense going forward?
Yeah, I mean, we expect a lot out of Zach. He is obviously a tremendously instinctive player, has made a ton of plays for us over the year, but I don't think the responsibility lies solely on Zach Cunningham. When you lose a guy like Bernard McKinney, you need all 11 guys on that field to step up and make up for his loss of just leadership, football IQ, knowledge out there. And I think our guys will do that. Obviously you hate to lose a guy like B-Mac. Love him dearly. He is a war daddy out there for us. But when you lose a guy like him, like I said, you need all 11 guys to step their game up.
Brandon.
Hey, Anthony. We're obviously aware of Derrick Henry and how he is as a running back, but could you just speak to what the challenge is, especially as a defensive line coach as well, and just kind of making sure that you guys prevent him from getting to that second level and just what that challenge is like for you guys? I know you've dealt with it already as a defensive line coach in previous years.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. This is a guy when he can get a full head of steam, he is a problem. So the challenge is up to the front seven. We got to do a great job on the edges of keeping them bottled in and funneling them back to those linebackers. We got to do a great job on the inside of not getting knocked off the ball. They have a talented offensive line. They've obviously preached discipline, toughness, physicality. We preach the same things. So it's going to be a battle from the first snap to the last, and we got to make sure that we keep him bottled up and not let him get started because, it's like Jadeveon's in the backfield. That's how big he is. That's how fast he is. And if you can keep him from getting those shoulders square and running down at those DBs, usually that works out in your favor.
And then also, Anthony, real quick, is it as weird for you as it is for a lot of Texans fans to see Jonathan Joseph in a Titans uniform?
Oh, man. Yeah, every time J. Joe makes a play and he gives that little shoulder shimmy, I know exactly where he's at. And, God, I love J. Joe. Made a bunch of plays for us here in Houston. What a tremendous guy. And he's had an incredible career. And let's just hope that he has a subpar game this Sunday.
Kim Davis.
Hey, Anthony, you talked about Henry, but just in general with the run game, your run defense obviously was improved last weekend. Can you talk about some of the things that you guys have done or are doing? You talk about the front seven and the edges that you expect to build on for this week.
Yeah, I think, anytime you're trying to stop the run, it takes all 11. I know a lot of the focus is always on the front seven, rightfully so, but it requires all 11 guys doing their job. Sometimes the ball kicks out and you need a nickel or a safety or a corner to trigger and make that play. And more often than not, our guys have. Up front, you have to accept the physical challenge. You got to win the line of scrimmage. You can't get knocked back. On the edge, you can't guess and take chances. It requires 11 guys to play tough, physical, disciplined football. We don't need guys to go and try to do anybody else's job. You need to believe and trust your teammates and then win the battle at the line of scrimmage. And usually when you do that, that's when you're playing good run defense.
And one quick follow, you talked about Jadeveon earlier. If you had to give some advice to the offensive side about what to expect from JD, what would you tell them?
Oh, man. The thing about Jadeveon is sometimes you know where he's supposed to go, but he don't always go there. And that it's that instinct that he has of when to take a chance and when not to take a chance is what makes him great. So offensively, I think you kind of got to expect the unexpected with him. He's not a robot out there. You can't just say he's going to be out there and he's going to be in this exact spot because you don't know where he's going to be. So expect the unexpected and do your best to try to keep a body in front of him.
Thanks.
All right, we'll take a few more here, Cody.
Hey, Anthony, you touched on it a little bit, but can you talk about what you might expect from Jonathan Joseph, another former Texan that we will be seeing on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, all those guys are going to be motivated. No different than the guys on our side of the ball are going to be. There are a bunch of former Texans over there they're playing really good ball right now, and obviously would love to just hang another L on a team that they left. But we have that same motivation. I coached with Mike Vrabel, Shane Bowen, Pat O'Hara. There's a bunch of guys from a coaching perspective that we're motivated to go out there and put our best team forward and get a win. Those guys, as much love as we have for those guys, Jadeveon, Jonathan Joseph, these guys over here don't want to see them win either. They're not part of this team anymore. We have a tremendous amount of pride, and we're going to try to do everything we can to go out there and bring a win back to Houston.
James.
Anthony, so much of what they do is off of the play action. I guess to use a baseball analogy, do you try to look at Tannehill in terms of like tipping things in how he runs the play action, the way pitchers can tip pitches? Do you guys study kind of that aspect of it?
Yeah, we have. I actually had a long conversation with JJ just this afternoon about if we could figure out exactly if they had to tell to when they're running the boots and when they weren't. And honestly, I got to give Arthur Smith and his coaching staff a tremendous amount of credit. They do a good job of making everything look the same. So you got to play it honest. Otherwise, that one time that you go up and you climb for the boot and you guess, you got Derrick Henry cutting it back at where you're supposed to be in that C gap and he's running downhill into your secondary. So I think you got to play it honest. They have a very good scheme that's caused problems for obviously a bunch of defense they've played to this point. And we just got to make sure we go out there and play, like I said, disciplined football, everybody doing their job, playing the plays as we see them, play it honest, and try to make the plays happen.
And when you stick with talking about the play action, everybody on the sidelines yelling pass or they're yelling whatever they can. With these empty stadiums, is that a little bit more effective with less crowd noise that players will hear you guys yelling in the play action game?
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, it doesn't hurt. There was a moment in the Baltimore game where our defense was probably on the 25-yard line in the red zone, and I'm yelling at one of our defensive players to move alignments, and he moved alignments. So it certainly doesn't hurt. Obviously, we wish the fans were in the stands. It creates a different atmosphere, ones that ignites you as a player and gets you to go out there and play probably a little bit harder. But it certainly is advantageous when it comes to that.
Thanks, Anthony.
Yeah, got time for two more. John.
Anthony, last year, A.J. Brown had 200-yard games against you. Jonnu Smith had a great game against you. What do you got to do against those guys Sunday that you were unable to do last year?
Yeah, I think you always got to account for where those guys are. They are tremendous athletes. And the thing about those two guys is they don't require a bunch of separation to get the ball to them. They're very big targets. They got tremendous catch radiuses, and they're strong with the ball in their hands. So I think a lot of that yards you saw against us, a lot of it was run after the catch. So I think whenever they do get the hands on the ball, it's important that we're swarming to the ball carrier, and we're limiting the run after the catch with both of those guys.
Last one for Aaron.
Anthony, I wanted to ask you about some guys that had a uptick in playing time this past week. Lonnie Johnson, Jacob Martin, and also Michael Thomas. Thank you.
Yeah, those guys are obviously three guys that I know haven't played a bunch to this point, but three guys that we have a tremendous amount of confidence in. Now, this last opponent we played, Jacksonville, they played a ton of 11 personnel, which took us out of our base package a lot. And we inserted those guys in more critical roles, and they excelled. And I expect to see the same thing this week. Lonnie's obviously a guy we drafted in the second round. He went out there and he was flying around hunting the football. Mike Thomas is an experienced vet who we have a lot of faith in, is very much a leader on this team. So we expect all those guys to go out there once again and play their best ball for us.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, guys.